Today we are learning basketball with CT Fazio. You can find him on YouTube with Court Talk with CT, covering college hoops, NBA draft, NBA, little nuggets, little St. John's basketball, maybe here and there, some extra tape. How you doing today, CT?
Hey Ryan, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show. Looking forward to talking NBA draft, and one day away, so we're pretty close. So looking forward to break it down with you.
Absolutely. I mean, we're recording this on NBA Draft Eve. This is the NBA Draft Wishlist pod. A little Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. So we'll see when this is out. I don't know if Santa will have already delivered the gifts, or if I think before everyone opens it, we'll get this out. By tomorrow, before the draft, of course, because we're just going to run through basically what we think each team is hoping for on draft night, and that mostly means a draft pick. Maybe a trade pops up for some of these teams. I mean, we'll see what they want most here on the the wish list pod, but. Why don't we just we haven't made any rules. Why don't we just kind of take turns on who we think they want most, and we can always bounce off what else we're thinking, any other prospects. And in case of emergency, we have the Swish Theory guide for the draft guide and big board for 2026 here, that actually has great team fits as an option to filter through. So we have, some ideas to bounce off the Swish team as well, just in case we need something. So why don't you start us off? What do you think the Wizards are, hoping for most on draft night? They can kind of do whatever they want. Balls in their court.
Yeah, definitely. I think with the Wizards, came out today that Trae Young was signing an extension. Kind of unsure about Anthony Davis's future with the franchise. You look at kind of the young talent they have as well. They have a bunch of, I think, intriguing young talent. In Sar, Will Riley, Trey Johnson. They picked last year. So they have a couple, options they can plug and play. But I think they're really looking forward to a franchise guy. And me on my board personally, I would take Boozer at number one. Even despite Anthony Davis being on the team, or maybe they'll look to trade him, for additional capital. But I mean, probably what makes the most sense here would be if you're looking to build around Trey moving forward. I think pairing him with Darren Peterson would be a really intriguing move. Just having Peterson there as someone who could play off the ball as well next to Trey, as far as I think would complement Trey as a defender at the point of attack. Quick hands, versatile as a shooter. Can play on or off the ball. And I think when Trey goes to the bench, you could put the ball in Peterson's hands and have him kind of run a bit more on the ball for some looks there. So I think Peterson would make the most sense. If you asked me this maybe like 2 days ago, I'd probably have a different answer for you, considering if Trey was re-signing there for the long term. But I think with Peterson's fit, next to Trey, but also too with Sar as well. I think defensively that could be a bit of an intriguing tandem there. And then you add in Will Riley, and also Kaishan George too, as well. So I think the Wizards have a pretty good allotment of young talent in the pipeline, and I think they're kind of looking for that one star to really take them from where they're at now, and then they can kind of transfer that into being a playoff team.
Absolutely, yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, with Trey in the fold, at least on the books for quite some time. Darren Peterson, like you said, I like that fit because you can play him on or off the ball, and I also have him kind of in that like top two conversation with Boozer, where like the right team that wants to bet on him, it's a 1A 1B to me at this point with them. Like they're like Boozer's my one because I think he is just generally the safest overall bet, I guess. He just has like every indicator pointing his way that he's shown over and over again in all these different metrics. And, Darren had a little, inconsistencies here and there that we can nitpick, but like his talent is unreal. Like he's clearly like the electric athlete, tough shot maker at the prep level, and then, 3-point shooter and defensive instincts, playmaking at both levels. Like clearly this just electric athlete and special talent that, could be really all-time guard level. We'll see, and you could see it like on the tape, and if you, it totally makes sense that with all the stuff that came out with his health as well, that that I kind of almost throw this season away for him the way you would with like an injury or just a bad fit in a college team spacing situation or something. Just to the point that like he was so electric in the high school level, especially in those head-to-head matchups against Boozer, against Sabanza. Like he held his own. He's proven it. So I like that scalability option. Like could help trade now, fit in now, and clearly be a guy long term. The Switch team has Devonta there as the Wizards fit. So interesting there. I mean, he is projected number one most of pretty much everywhere, but things change quick. This last few weeks, Darren's getting a lot of buzz, and you never know. I think like we said, Boozer's considered one of the best, if not the best player in the draft in many circles as well. So, um, any other thoughts there with the Wizards? If not, I'll go with the Jazz here.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
agree with your your perspective there. I think you could go pretty much either which way. Whether that's Boozer, whether it's Devonta, Peterson, but I think as far as fit is concerned, it seems like they've made maybe not a long term commitment, but definitely a short term, maybe extended commitment to Trey. And I think Darren, as far as his on and off ball ability, probably fits there a bit. I think a bit better than AJ.
yeah, I really do like that pick a lot. I mean, Darren is so easy to fit in with the defense and the threes right away, and then the on ball potential and just all the electric downhill movements and way he moves, special talent. With the Jazz, so this is the Jazz's wish list. I shouldn't say this is my wish list for the Jazz. But like, what does Utah want? I feel like Utah wants AJ DeBosa, so I got to give them what they want. Like even though Boozer's dad is in the front office, legend Carlos Boozer, and even though I think like like I said, Boozer's my number one, I would take Boozer. I do think he would fit really well in Will Hardy's system, and as a drive and kick guy, and just as a shooter himself, just could fit right in. But prolific prep to Utah prep to BYU to the Utah Jazz. Like it feels like it's gonna happen. I don't know. Like it has happened every other step, right? So, I think Utah here wants AJ. So, Merry Christmas, happy NBA draft. You got Devonta here, Utah. Who do you think they're wanting most at the number 2 pick?
Yeah, I would go Devonta as well. Because I think with Boozer, they just traded for Jaren Jackson. So I think there could be a little bit of a positional overlap there if they were to take Cam. But like you said, it's kind of written about AJ, playing at BYU and then kind of going off to Utah as that selection there. So I agree with that pick. I think, you play, George next to Jaren. And then you also have Lowry as well. And then whoever their center may be, probably Kessler, it sounds like. That's just like a really tall, versatile, and pretty athletic front line. If you could play AJ, Lowry, Jaren, and Kessler all together, I think that's probably one of the tallest front lines in the league, I would think, and would bring immediate athleticism to that lineup. Versatility. You look at a guy like Lowry, who obviously is good shooter. Good cutter, can kind of handle some usage in lineups. I think AJ would really complement that well if you give him the ball and let him kind of go to work a little bit with him and George, going shot for shot there. I think that'd be some nice offensive punch. So yeah, I think that'd be a good pick for them as well.
There it is. And Swish Theory has Darren Peterson, probably for the shooting, I guess. I could see that. The shooting in that system. But yeah, I do agree there is probably a little bit too much overlap of stretch 4 if you go Boozer between Laurie, JJJ, and Boozer himself. Like, to me, they're kind of all best at the 4. So even though they can all kind of play a little 5 or maybe play some 3, I guess, in the right lineup, like, I don't know. It is a little bit of too much overlap maybe in some areas. So you could see why, at the same time, if they like Cam that much, then maybe they move on from one of them, and it could be Marcana at that point. I would think, but can't really go wrong either way in that sense. But let's go on to the next pick here. I already lost the draft order. It's the Grizz. So who the Grizz obviously lost Jaren Jackson Jr. So could use a boost in the front court here next to Edie and Coward.
Mhm.
Who do you think is on the top of their wish list?
Yeah, it's got to be Boozer. I think that third and fourth pick is just going to be kind of the result of whoever the first two picks were. I mean, you still kind of come out with a win, I think, with both of those picks. But I really like the Boozer fit in Memphis next to Edie. I
Yeah.
think two players who can really punish on the glass. I think Edie kind of covers for Boozer's deficiencies defensively as well. As far as maybe quicker players, Edie can protect the rim. I know Edie's health has been a question over the past few years, but just as far as that tandem, I think really complements each other offensively and defensively. And I think when you get Boozer on the short roll, playing with I don't know if Ja will still be there, but whether that's one of their guards that they have, like I think Boozer out of the short roll, throwing lobs to Edie, I think that really makes a lot of sense on offense there. And I think Boozer will really capitalize in that floater range and that mid range area, off the roll. But he's obviously versatile enough to play inside outside as well. But I really like that kind of trio there. You got Coward, you got Boozer, and then you have Edie. I think it's a pretty intriguing young core that you can use moving forward. And then you have Ja as well. They're looking to flip, so maybe you can get an additional asset there as well. So I think the Grizzlies would be in pretty good shape moving forward with Boozer in the fold.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And when you're thinking about like the most complimentary maybe centers to go with Boozer, like Edie's got to be right up there among these top teams. But for a lot of the reasons you mentioned, like the defensive rim protection and rim rolling, you can kind of imagine like uh two double drag or horns type double pick and roll sets with both these guys. Where
Yep.
at the very least Boozer can, like you said, short roll and throw the lob or roll out or roll in or pop out. So a lot of versatility there, and just brings that scoring punch they need, the 3-point shooting, some rebounding next to it, and playmaking as well that the half court could use. And we got one to match with the Swish Theory fit. That is that is the Swish top fit there. So
There we go.
look at us. Happy NBA draft to the top three. Now, before we make the obvious pick at 4, do you think there's any chance Caleb Wilson sneaks up into the top 3? Because he is that guy that's kind of just stuck between, like, he's clearly everyone's favorite more than the field, but he's, for a lot of people, he's not quite cracked that top 3, like their rankings and all that. And like he's third on my board. I'm really pretty high on him. But do you think what would have to happen on draft night for Caleb Wilson to become a top 3 pick? What's his wish list?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I've seen a couple of people have Wilson kind of above 3 on their boards, just generally. But I don't know. It seems like for me that top 3 order has just kind of been like set, like
Right.
unofficially been set for a long time. But I mean, maybe if the team wants Wilson's kind of defensive ability, his athleticism, to add to the mix. But I probably would think it's a bit of an outside chance, but you never know. Tomorrow, could be maybe a team thinks Boozer is maybe as far as his lateral ability or his too reliant on the post game. Maybe if a team doesn't fully believe in that, could think Wilson's upside's a bit higher. But I think probably that we'll probably see that order be the top 3 that we see, but you never know. Could always be a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do think Wilson could fit right in for Memphis just as much. Like, it just happens to be like if Boozer's there, you kind of got to take Boozer, I would think. But Wilson could help all these teams. So like, I wouldn't put it past any of them to take him. But yeah, I do think from all the talks, it seems like he's probably going to 4 here. I already broke the idea of also doing the future picks at the same time. So before we move on to the Bulls, let's hit 16 for Memphis and 32 for Memphis. At the moment, those are their picks. You never know, draft night, picks get moved, but this is on the Grizzlies, draft night wish list to go with Boozer at the 3rd pick. Who do you think, if they take Boozer, who do you think they would want at 16? And then does that really, I mean, that does affect it a little bit, I think, with the options there. But who do you think they would want at 16 for Boozer? And then let's say, maybe they end up with Peterson and have more room in the front court than, on that outcome.
Yeah, if they go Boozer, I was thinking maybe Philon. As far as a pick
That'd
there,
be fun. I love
yeah.
Philon.
I think if you have Philon and Boozer in the pick and roll, I think would be a really dynamic combo.
Oh man,
You could have,
those 2 of my top 6.
yep.
They're ready to go.
You could have Philon
That'd be
picking,
lethal.
yeah, for sure. You could have Philon as the inverted pick and roll man with Boozer when he's running pick and rolls. He can pop for threes. Like I said, pick and roll duo. I think you could be kind of hard pressed to find a more intriguing and versatile combination there, running pick and roll together. As far as their offensive skill sets could complement each other with Philon and his space creation. Maybe dragging two to the ball and getting Boozer on that short roll where he can really capitalize as a decision maker. With his touch and his passing ability. So I think offensively that would be a great fit. I think defensively as well, if you put Coward and Edey, in between them, I think that makes a lot of sense from a defensive standpoint as well. So you got that offensive side of the ball, and then defensively you can kind of make up for it with more defensively skewed ancillary players on that end of the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. And like complimentary to me in the sense of like Boozer and Phylon can both be hustle steal guys that make deflections and smart winning plays, while Coward and Edie are more like powerful defenders. They're more
Right.
impactful. That's what they're there for. And then, complimentary in the two-way sense that Phylon and Boozer's, probably more there for the offense, the creation, the scoring, the shooting, and just the general gravity and playmaking of their creation abilities on the other end. So complementing the play finishing of Coward's 3-point shooting as a catch and shoot, or Edie's rolling at the rim and all that. So, love that pick. And, with the another name I had was Chris Senac Jr. If maybe if they probably not if they go Boozer, but pretty much if they go anyone else, I could see them. Anyone else at the third pick, I could see them go Chris there because brings some interesting unicorny light tools of like some quick comp somewhere. Not that he is these guys, but like a little bit of Chris Bosh to his game, a little bit of Asa Newell to his impact as well, I think. But just elite rebounding instincts are the first thing that pop out.
Yep.
Has great defensive tools between the wingspan and his ratio of length compared to his height. He's already a really tall defender, and instinctual help side shot blocker, and gets deflections. Have seen him have promising ball skills, I think. Just can dribble a little bit and kick out pass and kick ahead pass and hit the trailer three, hit like the pick and pop midi, and not quite a like lethal knockdown 3-point threat yet, but that's kind of the realistic potential I think he has to spread out that mid-range touch. And that's probably also a reason maybe like his some numbers at the or in 2-point percentage are a little lower as well, because taking a lot of mid-range shots, not the best, most efficient shot, but he does have it in his game, and I think that's a weapon. And kind of one reason I'm slightly higher on him than some of the other forwards in that range is because not only does he have some defensive tools, but he could be a good rebounder, good passer, good shooter with some scoring, touch on the block and footwork and stuff, like really all around game to his upside. So that's just what gives him a slight edge in like, a really impressive class where they could go, Jaden Caton if he's there, Merez Johnson if he's there, or Zuby Ejiofor if they want to go with him. Maybe it's a little too soon, but they also have the 32 pick. So, with the 32 in mind as well, Tameen Lipsy, I guess, is one guy that feels like a Grizzly. He's right there. He's literally my 32 ranked guy. Anyone we leave off in this Grizzly range of picks here for you?
No, I think you nailed it. With I think Lipsy would be a good pick too. I'm in the second round. I was thinking maybe Emmanuel Sharp as
Fun.
well. Someone who
All
can
right.
operate as a catch and shoot player. Pretty rugged defensively as well.
There you go.
I think
Yeah.
he can handle a little bit in spurts.
Tough.
I mean, not really a creator. Definitely, kind of adds more to that Grizzlies kind of mentality as being rugged and tough. So I think that could be an option, just a 3-and-D kind of guard to add to the mix there.
I like it very much. That grit and drive mentality.
Yep.
So with the Bulls, they have the 4th pick and the 15th pick. The chalk would say Caleb Wilson. It's almost likelier that Wilson goes 4 than anyone goes top 3. Weirdly enough, it's like that's the most chalk of any pick. So who do you think? Knowing that they're probably getting Wilson unless things change, we can talk a little more Wilson if you have any thoughts there, but on why obviously they're going to take him. But who do you think they kind of want to balance that with 15 to round it out? And then they do have the 56th pick and the 38th pick as well in the second round. So you could see them unlikely to take 4 rookies, but you could see them maybe package that for a different second or something like that. So you could see them walking away with two lottery picks and at least 1 second rounder here. What do you think is on the Bulls wish list, the fans wish list for this new regime?
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, because the Bulls kind of had the same regime for a while with Karnisovas in the front office. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of direction that they go in. This pick, it might be maybe a bit of a slide if it were to happen, but I could see Braden Burries at 15 if he goes there. Someone who's a
Yep.
3-and-D guard, rugged defensively. I think has a bit more on ball as far as handling ability than maybe projected to be. But also you're kind of aligning your team to give the ball to Wilson, and it seems like Giddey's going to be have the ball in his hands a good amount of the time. I think Burris is like a off ball option. He can play on in spurts, not really that much, but mainly off the ball. As a catch and shoot player, can thrive off of cuts. Can really push the pace in transition. One of the better transition players in the class. I think that would be pretty dynamic as far as Wilson and Burris kind of getting up and down. Adds a bit more athleticism to the table as well. So I think that'd be a pretty good pick. If he were to fall to 15, like playing alongside that configuration, I feel like he can kind of slot in there pretty seamlessly between Wilson and
that's probably the
talent.
big if now, because Burries seems to be gaining some steam in draft lottery talks. I think he might go top 10. At this point, like in that late, like maybe 8 through 10 type of range there. But if he's there, home run draft for the Bulls to get Wilson at 4 and Burries at 15, and let alone any of these second round guys. Maybe I don't think Kareem Lopez would be there that late, but maybe that's a guy that fits their up and down system with Giddey a little bit. I think Wilson would. We've maybe talked before about it, but I think Wilson really would complement Giddey in that way too. Just his defense as on the wing, his defensive anchor type of perimeter defense and downhill transition game and play finishing and Giddey's pace pushing, probably and Wilson scoring and Giddey's vision and ability to set him up probably could unlock him a bit there as well. Well, any other Bulls targets in general?
I think that was it for. I think Burries for sure, and then maybe like a Christian Anderson. It might be a bit of a reach at 15, but I think one of the better pull-up shooters in the class.
Anderson. Yeah, no, I'm all in on. I'm probably a little too high on Anderson. Like between the pull-up shooting, the playmaking, the 3-point shooting, catch and shoot shooting, like the speed, like I don't know, like he's got some combination of talent there that feels special. But he's not being mocked quite that high. But yeah, that'd be especially if you already get Wilson. You can like maybe Mara's there, but probably not. It's likely he's getting mocked really high. So maybe one of the guards slips that. Like, if not, Anderson definitely could be there. And, Dalen Swain's another name that I don't know if you could get him and Wilson if you kind of bet on both, like, plus defenders, downhill scorers with some tough shot making and just kind of go all in on that. Maybe I think that's Niles' theory. Go double theory, or bet on the twin archetypes. But, they're not the same player, but they do, in my mind, affect the game in some similar ways. So that'd be an interesting route if they got both of them. But this is such a deep draft for the value to me. I put out my big board today. That's final until I change my mind tomorrow. As it goes. But with guys in one tier, I have I rank them by like who I ultimately think will be the best bet to be a winning player at the next level, or with potential to be a star at a certain point. And my top 6 are kind of in one tier, but like 7 through 19, 20, 21 basically are all like really close tiers. So this draft having like a late lottery pick, let alone both for the Bulls is really great value.
I agree, especially in a class like this, where the depth of it extends pretty far, but also I think it's really good as far as being top heavy too. It's a really, really good opportunity to have 2 picks in this class to try to add 2 rotation players or starter level players to your franchise.
Absolutely. Why don't you take the Clippers here with the 5th pick? They also have 2 seconds, 36 and 52nd, if you have any second round targets.
So this is probably where I think the draft starts officially, number 5. I'm going to go with Keaton Wagler for this pick.
I like it.
Wagler's at 5 on my board as well. So kind of fits right into there. But I think with Wagner, you can play him alongside Garland. Defensively, maybe a bit more questions than answers there, but Wagner kind of brings, positional size to the table, dynamic as a shooter, like really elite shooter, really unconventional kind of movement patterns, but able to break the paint pretty frequently. I think playing next to Kawhi, their kind of defensive infrastructure that they have there with Kawhi and Derrick Jones, they have some wings there. Chris Dunn at the point of attack too, I think would be
Yeah.
really good as far as a fit to maybe kind of ease some of the defensive questions for Wagner. But I think with Wagner, you can play him on and off the ball. I think more so you want to play him on, because of his ability to operate as a pull-up shooter, get to the paint. I don't think he's like a great passer, like a plus passer, but he's good enough, I think, to really make lineups work on that end. But I like his fit next to Kawhi, and I think Garland too, offensively. So I'll go with Wagner at 5 to the Clippers.
Yeah, that's a fun pick. I mean, he's obviously one of the biggest success stories of the college season, rising up draft ranks, and one of the most exciting kind of pace pushing, like you said, pull up shooting, the decel, the side steps and the euro steps and downhill finishing and all that. The body control is really nice. His ability to get to the rim just really clean. And bump and finish and all that. So a real and good vision out of all that. So he's definitely an interesting creator, and could see him going this high. I do think they should take the best player available. They shouldn't necessarily just address a fit, and if that's who is their BPA kind of thing, and if the having Kawhi definitely helps kind of balance out some defense when you have Garland and him. Like, you might need a little help on that end, but like you said, they do have quite the infrastructure already. They might go Mara. That might be on their wish list. And we'll throw Fleming's. I gotta give Fleming's a shout here. I think he'd probably be my BPA other than Okori, but with Garland there, I'd probably maybe lean Fleming's anyway. Just a little more interesting debate there, but they'd probably go Fleming's on their BPA if I had to guess out of those guys I just named. But just as a possible star himself, one of the best passers and drive and kick point guards and pick and roll maestros in the class, he could be there. So with any second rounders for the Clippers, if they're going to go with if we think they go with one of their favorite guards in the top pick, they have we'll just generally say any second round targets, I guess. They have the 36 and 52nd, so they could kind of move around or something.
Probably Caravan for them, I think. Maybe adding another wing shooter. I don't know where is their pick for the. Are they
early second round? 36th pick. Yeah, they got the 36th pick, so 6th pick in the second round, and then they also have the 52nd. So someone will be there late that they might be able to snag, but it gets a little rough after about 45 normally in terms of just people that actually want to get picked.
Right.
People would rather go undrafted or, as we saw, back to the NIL to college. So, but 36 I think is pretty good value, and with that 52, maybe you can sneak up a little higher. And if you like someone in particular, if you grab a guard, Kale could be another fun defender just to kind of round out the backcourt. Maybe Terrace Reed or the best center available at that point if he's gone. Could be a move to round out the front court with Zubac out. That's who I guess I would be thinking there. But with the Nets, you kind of stole my pick. I in a sense, I kind of think Keaton Wagler is kind of the top of their draft night Eve wish list. Maybe Acuff, but I feel like we've reached the point in the mock drafts where Wagler is leaning Brooklyn and Acuff is leaning Sacramento, I guess. Or, I guess the teams are leaning those ways with those guys. But that's just a mock. You never really know. One of these teams could always, pull a random guy that no one is expecting, especially in this draft. There's just so much talent, I think, where this is one of the deepest and most one of the more controversial drafts I've seen in a while, where there's just a ton of talent where people there's 25 guys where I've seen someone say this might be the best player of the draft. That's where we're at with this draft. So with the Nets, I'd probably say Wagler. If he's off the board by then, let's say he is, then they'd probably got to go Flemings at that point. Then I would say if Flemings is still on the board, I don't think they would go with like I think they just got to take a swing. So I don't really think, maybe they go Mikal Brown Jr. Is still on the board. He's a exciting name in this range, but if it's Flemings or Wagler, I think they're probably deciding between those two in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think with the guard, even though I think they probably took how many guards last year in their draft class? They took Gemin, they took Traore, and they took
Man,
Saroff as well. So, I think at this
yeah,
point, like for that, I don't think that should factor into their calculus with this pick. Definitely should be best player available. But like you said, I think they can go Flemings. I think they can go Michael Brown. Wagler, if he's not selected by the Clippers, I think they go guard. And this is the range where there's so many guards in the mix too. You got a Corey, you got Wagler, you got Brown, Flemings, Philon maybe if a team really likes him to take him that high. So I think there's a surplus of guards in this range, and Brooklyn I think just needs to take best player available. So I can see either of those guys. Mike Wagler, maybe Acuff, like you said too. Maybe they'll go with him.
yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to. Maybe Acuff too. I don't even know if I skipped over him, but they clearly could be the team that takes him. I think he'll be in this kind of run, I guess, somewhere here in the 5 through 9, 10 range. Like he's gotten too much buzz to fall much farther than that. And maybe a team trades up for him, but I do think it'll be Sacramento there. But before we jump there, any second round looks? They got the 33rd pick and the 43rd pick in Brooklyn. Um, so two decent second rounders, two usable second rounders, and it's still the best player available at that point. Maybe a flyer on like Baba Miller if he's kind of dynamic in that range, fun, bouncy forward. Could get downhill a little bit. I don't think Zuby Ejiofor is going that late. I think Zuby's like officially top 20, top 30 range in the mock. What do you think he's reached there and can like NBA, like real NBA mock draft wise?
Yeah, I think Zuby's definitely top 30.
Yeah.
Just as far as the year that he had, as Big East Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year in the Big East as well. Really improved his ball skills offensively. Someone who could attack closeouts. His footwork really improved this year. Operated as a hub a little bit at St. John's too with his passing ability, and then defensively, he's really the calling card. With special mover physicality as at someone who's 6'9", just like the combination of physicality, strength, quickness on that end of the floor as far as being someone who can block shots, but also kind of stand up, whoever it is in the post that he's guarding. So, yeah, I think Zuby will probably return. I would probably say like top 25-ish value. I think at this point, I'd be pretty surprised if he went past pick 25.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at was like he was mocked at like second round or so for a while, and I wasn't as aware as I should have been of how well rounded his game was because like it's like you said that he's got the elite defense, and then like what separates him from these other defenders in that range, like I got him like lottery and at 11th. I'm way too high on him at the moment, but he's between the elite defense and like his stuff rebounding and just being able to get downhill and score and flash some ball skills as well. Like he's got that two-way dynamic impact that I would be looking for an NBA team, especially at this point or at that point in the draft, I should say, around the late lotto. And let's see, Acuff is on the Nets Swish Theory recommendations, so noted, and he's also on the Kings, along with Flemings and Ade Mara at 7 potentially as well, and you could see that with Raynaud maybe, but I kind of just think it's Acuff at that point.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'd be Acuff as well, especially playing next to Sabonis. I know he was coming off an injury this year, but I really like that ability as far as being a pick and roll duo. Acuff getting downhill, can get to his pull up as well. Defensively, there probably will need to be a bit of surrounding wings that can play alongside that duo. You have Keegan there as well, which is good. But yeah, I could see Acuff as far as Acuff as being another guard that they add just to complement Sabonis. But you got to take a swing here as well with Acuff on the upside. The Kings are a team that's kind of a bit removed from the playoffs, so you got to take a swing here and see what if they can return any star upside.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they 100% they have to take a swing on a potential star, and if that's a cup for them, then that's who I would think is at the top of their wish list at this point. I'm really high on Ibuka Okori and LeBaron Philon as well, so like I would basically recommend them as the guard from here on out, if not already, at every point in terms of what I would do. But this is about what the teams want, and I think they want a cuff, and they do have 2 seconds. So maybe they could dip in like the international prospects that could be down there, like Sergio De La Rey is like an interesting point guard just to round out, get another talent late in the draft that could become something even better than expected. Because I don't really know what like the fit would be on the Kings in the second round. I
Right.
don't exactly know what they're looking for other than just like NBA talent to beef up this rotation.
Yep. That's definitely the baseline. In the second round, you want to draft for me with the second round. Like I think my usually my thinking when I think about the second round is, do you have like one bankable skill you can bring to the table that really I think would be immediately contributing to a roster. So I think that kind of
Yeah.
is how you get your foot on the floor, and then after that you can kind of expand your game after that. So yeah, I can see De La Rey as maybe an upside option that they try to go to in the second round. He's got positional size, can handle for a guy his size, pretty intriguing. So I like that. I like that pick.
Appreciate it, man. With the Hawks here, eight. They have the eighth, the 23rd, and the 57th pick here for the Atlanta Hawks. The eighth is from the New Orleans trade for Derek Queen.
Yep.
So with that being said, let's assume we got Boozer, Peterson, Wilson, Flemings, Wagler, and Acuff are off the board. Let's take all those guys off the board. Who is on the general wish list? The top of the wish list, I should say, for the Hawks at 8.
I would say a Corey here.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, just because I think he can play alongside Jalen Johnson. As far as having a little bit more size defensively on the front line, playing next to Nikhil as well, I think that would also be a nice fit. But I think Okoro you can argue is best player available here as far as his ability to touch the paint, being able to pressure the rim, dynamic speed and quickness. Defensively, of course, is a bit hit or miss right now. It has the plus wingspan at 6'8", but I do think that would be really dynamic as far as getting to the paint. And, you can play Jalen, alongside him at the rim as well for dump offs, but you can run inverted pick and rolls too with the Corey and Jalen. Like, I really like that combination there. And like I said, with Nikhil, I think he's like the perfect complement to a Corey as far as in the backcourt as well. I think you need a defensive slanted guard next to him. And, Nikhil took a bit more offensive usage this year, to kind of show a bit more of his creation ability. But I think if you scale down his usage and he plays more on the defensive side of the floor, I think that complements both the Hawks and his game as well. So I think a core here would be a nice fit.
Yeah, I could definitely see how their like two-way versatility kind of complements both sides of the ball for them and their strengths and weaknesses just in in what he projects at least. I mean, hey, no argument here, man. This is the highest of any mock I've seen a Corey. I've seen a Corey, and I didn't make it. Normally, I'm the one making it. And it's at the 9 for the Mavs or the 10 for the Bucks. I'm getting yelled at. All approval here, man. Great pick. That's the pick of the draft. I mean, that's the top of my wish list. I would think like by now Okori's got to be on some radars where he should be on the team's top of the wish list. I would imagine the fans are going to throw out like a Mikael Brown Jr. I've seen a lot. That's a fun name here as well
Yep.
for a lot of similar reasons. And for us, maybe Philon's just kind of like, or Philon, Okori's just kind of like surpassed him as a prospect in kind of the variety of ways. But just for the argument, Mikel is a really special talent, maybe like untapped talent, and
Mm-hmm.
in that sense where it just hasn't fully been unleashed everything he can do, but the playmaking and the pull-up shooting and at his height, able to get downhill and drive and kick and create, like obviously, you need the right situation to maybe fine-tune the system or decision making and get the most out of them. Probably just put him in a situation to rep out NBA offense the right way and maximize his skills on and off the ball and all that. But really I think he would probably be one of the highest here. And also, I've seen a lot of Ademara
Yep.
at this pick. He's the big box. So like, if they just want to round out the front court with like some solid center play that should generally complement all their dynamic, versatile centers that are a little more like more skilled and more on the wing and perimeter moving and all that. And Jalen and Johnson and uh, Okongwu and even Newell. Um, could definitely see that as well. But I mean, we're going Okori here. Then what a pick! What a pick! They also have the 23rd and the 57th. So the 57th probably not going to do much, but the 23rd is something where the right guy could slip right down there. So let's say they do take a guard like we just projected. Who do you think they might want here at the 23rd pick?
This is a tough one, but I probably would think Visar. As far as someone
Yeah.
who can step out a little bit and shoot, can produce on the glass as well. I think Jalen next to him defensively would be a nice fit. As far as someone who can protect the rim, if Visar's playing at the level, I think Jalen as playing 4-on-3 on the back line, it makes a lot of sense there too. But I really like Jalen as far as the fit there, and then Nikhil is like the point of attack defender that can push ball handlers out while Visar's at the level. I think schematically, like I really like that fit, and could play a bit more 5-out as well. If Visar you're in the pick and pop with the Corey there, I think that could be a nice little combination. So I'd probably go Visar. Maybe that's a little bit of an overdraft, but I don't know. I think in that range, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I think it's the right train of thought because he's I have him in that range at like 26 on my board, and like this is the 23rd pick. And the big part of the big swing factor is like if they go guard, does that mean they just have to take one of the best bigs available, and vice versa? If they go Mara, do they have to then do they go with one of the best guards available? Does that kind of shift their mindset there into who they might target? Just because for Atlanta, it's a really versatile roster that could use a main playmaker, creator, and a big man to kind of round out the team. And that it seems like some obvious holes. I mean, maybe Quaintance is there for just a straight defensive flyer on his really high defensive impact. Like reminds me a little of like Jonathan Isaac. I've heard a little of Mitchell Robinson thrown out for him too. Just like a maniac, athletic defender, really strong rim protector, dynamic mover when he's healthy. And it's a little low. Like Isaac got drafted like 6. I think Imrob, I forget where, but like 15 or something like that. Like I think Jaden might fall just because the injury, because the talent's
Right.
clearly there. Like he'd be like top 10 or so to probably and probably is on some boards still, even with the injuries. But that's really on the reason he's fall. But that being said, I think I saw a rumor he might fall a little bit, and that you never know with these mock rumors. But if he does, that's a good thing for whatever team snags the talent and gets to bet on the talent that he has, and maybe it's the Hawks. The Lakers could be really interesting for him too if he's there at 25. Just getting a play finisher for like Luka or a creator like Luka to unlock him as a play finisher and not ask him to do anything other than throw down those lobs and play defense. But we'll get to the Lakers wish list. We're not skipping ahead just yet. If they go Mara, I wonder what you have any favorite guards late in the 20s or so that might be there that they could go if they go Mara early here in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think. Let me see. Late in the 20s. Yeah, we said Anderson before. Maybe Sturts.
Sturts, maybe.
Yeah, Sturts. I was gonna say. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
If he's there, it might be a little late, but if he's still there, that'd be a heck of a point guard to pick up to run the show a little bit. And if you got Mara and Sturts there, it's like a immediate pick and roll combo on top of everything Atlanta already has.
Yep.
Pretty nice turnout there. So that brings us to Dallas at number 9. Sorry, Dallas, Ibuka's gone. Who'd we end up taking for Atlanta? That was Ibuka. So for Dallas, yeah, I'm gonna go. Is it too high for Philon? I mean, I would take Philon here at this point. That'd be a really fun combo to me.
Yeah.
To pair with Flag, like we talked about it with Memphis already. If he might be there, I've seen him mocked to like Miami 13 a lot. That's probably one of my favorite fits for him too. But I would take him pretty early. So but I gotta remember it's the Mavs wish list. So with Cooper Flag in hand, am I forgetting someone else that they might want here on their wish list? I think, they probably want a little bit. I mean, they have Kyrie. I can't tell if they're going to hold on to Kyrie and run it back or just try to trade and reset. I would imagine it's the latter, but like if you have Kyrie, I feel like that changes things a little bit, but maybe more than it should. But he's there on the team. Do you have anyone in particular that like Philon? You already touched on like all the ways his versatility complements Boozer. There's probably a lot of that with Flag as well, with their connected playmaking and Philon's offense and Flag's. Both have had defensive pasts and now have kind of become more offensive minded guys almost. But I think between the two, they could have some connective two-way feel, and some interesting kind of scoring versatility. Maybe some play finishing unlock between them. Anyone else? I'm maybe forgetting for Dallas here.
Yeah, I like Michael if he's there.
Yeah,
I think this
right.
would probably be a little bit later of a slip. It seems like he used to go earlier in the class, but I think playing next to a jumbo creator like Cooper, and then slotting alongside Kyrie as well makes, I think, a bit of sense. As far as Kyrie, he can play on and off the ball as a catch and shoot threat. I think Michael as well can operate as a catch and shoot player as well. Can operate defensively around those two guys too. A bit more malleable, I think, than given credit for. So I like that fit there. Have Michael playing alongside Kyrie and Coop. I think like having a guard that you can optimize off the ball as a catch and shoot player, as a cutter, can kind of grab and go on transition. I think that's probably what the Mavs are looking for. But yeah, I like Philon there too. As another guard you can add as can play off the ball as a catch and shoot player. Cooper's off, you can have Philon kind of run the offense there too. Like you said, it kind of depends what happens with Kyrie, moving forward. But I think those guys will play in the same configuration.
Right, yeah, they could probably play some in the same backcourt, and maybe one other. And I like Mikal a lot here. We might even make him the official pick, but the other name was Braden Burries that I see a lot here. A lot of mocks have officially said Burries, his ready-made, versatile two-way game here pairs up nice next to Flag, just kind of doubles down on do it all, Swiss Army knife type of style of play. So I could like him there, but let's make it Mikal. I think from all the mocks, I think he's the top of the Mavs wish list. I think they'd want Mikal at this point. So we're gonna leave Philon on the board and get Mikal here. That brings us, before we move on, I gotta double check. Dallas has the 48th pick. It's something. Any second rounders for Dallas that interests you? Maybe
I
a
was gonna
big.
say, maybe
Just
a big. If I was gonna say on Yenso, I don't know if he maybe goes
yeah.
earlier, but just adding a rim protector, there would be pretty good. Seems like they're gonna trade Gafford, so maybe they'll be in the business of getting another rim protector to add to the mix. And then Lively, I know it's been hit or miss with his availability. So I think Onyenso as a flyer is just like an outlier shot blocker, and kind of like what I was saying before is like I like to try to bank on like one skill set that you bring to the table that maybe you could stand out early. And I think Onyenso's skill set as a shot blocker would really kind of stand out there.
I like that pick a lot. Yeah, especially if he's still there at have him in that range, and there's a handful of bigs in that range, so they could probably round out the front court a little bit there. The Bucks at number 10, they might have as if it's the Bucks fans, I still think the top of the wish list is to keep Giannis and just run it back forever and ever, and keep throwing it like just keep trying until he retires. Like I think that's what is the ultimate wish for Bucks fans, but we'll see. We're still not there. I don't know what would have to happen for that at this point. Maybe someone crazy slips to them in the draft that Giannis loves, and that's it. But I thought it'd be done by now, but here we are on the Draft Night Eve podcast. Maybe it comes out in
Still
between
going.
the release and now. You never know. But I think just keeping Giannis is really the top of their list. But in terms of the players, we've officially taken Okori and Mikal Brown. I think they would. This is another place I've mocked Philon to. It's another place I've mocked Swain to. But I think Burries probably would go by now. Like I think he's a guy that if he's not going ninth, or so, then he's probably going 10th or soon after. So I'm gonna go Burries here because he kind of straddles the two timelines for Milwaukee, just in case Giannis does want to stick around. He's one of the best win now players, I think, of all these guards. Like, just brings that two-way versatility and a lot of ball skills. Has shown some scalability on the ball to play off the ball in different roles, and a little bit projects well as a scorer and shooter on top, even if defense is his main thing. But I think, the sum of the parts should bring a two-way winning player, with some all-star-ish or all defensive type upside of, like, in the right situation, maybe he could be a real, like, third top high-end starter on a really, really good team. And you could see it next to Giannis in Milwaukee, or without him, if they just need the next a good young player to take the next step with this pick. Like, he's likely to be one of those players, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think depending on if Giannis is there still, because then you probably want to surround him with more skill sets that are scalable. But yeah, I like Burries or Philon at this pick.
Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense for him to go guard.
I like it. I don't see any second rounders for them. I'm gonna stick with just keeping Giannis in Milwaukee is the top of their wish list. The
So
Warriors,
reliable.
yeah. Well, we'll see. Anything can happen, Hoop dreams. The Warriors have the 11th pick. Steph Curry still trying to win it all. They also have the 54th pick. Would be cool if he got to play with Giannis, but I don't know how that would how that would end up happening either. But that would be a cool one. With the 11th pick, who do you think here they would go? I really like now that there's like two or three options specifically here. I really like their options.
Yeah, I think Yaxel Lendeborg makes a lot of sense for Golden State.
Yeah,
Yep.
Axel's the guy.
Yeah,
Philon
just
was
as
the other
far as
one that a maybe, because I love Philon next to Steph in theory, but like Yaxel is just too perfect, right?
yeah, definitely makes a lot of sense as a fit. Pretty scalable as far as can assume some usage. Running pick and rolls at times, handoffs. Obviously, can operate as a catch and shoot player, which he improved upon this year. Can operate a bit more as a role. Malleability. At center, he can play some four, some even some three at certain points as well. Defensively, just kind of fits into on both ends of the floor. Adds a bit more collective height and length too to their lineups because I know some of their front court's a bit undersized at times. They have Horford, they have Draymond. I think that would add to kind of the versatility there. So I think Yaxel just makes a lot of sense for them.
No, I love it. I've been mocking Yaxel there every chance I get. But I like I mentioned, I do like Philon's, like we mentioned him a few times already, his versatility and stuff. Like, I think that'd be pretty dynamic as like unleashed next to as the third option or whatever in Golden State. But Yaxel is next to Seth is just a match made in basketball heaven, right? Like,
Yep.
he's the handoffs, the defense, the 4-5 strength, front court versatility, and he can like score against post up mismatches, like underrated playmaker. Could totally see him kind of like filling a Draymondy role, even though he's not Draymond, but just doing some of that stuff with Steph and some playmaking and any big defensive versatility next to Steph that can make generally good decisions. Obviously, flash that 3-point shot development that scouts wanted to see kind of in this past year in Michigan, where almost out of nowhere, like, was just an incredible defensive playmaker, and now he's like a much more rounded player already. And it might take some time to do that consistently at the NBA level, but like he's shown that he has some real two-way versatility. I think it's a great fit in Golden State. We I don't even think there's any disagreement there. We'll see. He's the
Yep.
top one for Switch Theory as well. They also threw Steinbach is another name I've seen thrown out for them that is interesting. I just think it's too soon. Like, I don't I like his game as a utility type of big, but there's just so many guys in this draft I like with some of their talent a little bit more.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm in alignment there with Lendeborg. I think Steinbach's a little early.
So the Thunder then Thunder from the Clippers, with the 12th pick, probably. I mean, from the Clippers, so probably from the OG Shea trade itself. You know what? I'll see if they have any other ones, but do they just want to make a pick here? Do you think they have any trade desires? I don't think the Giannis stuff was real for them.
No, I don't think so either. I think the optimal pick for them would be Perez Johnson.
Oh,
It seems like he's maybe going a bit more up the board than
yeah,
lately, but I think as far as adding another rugged defender there, can operate as a switch defender, someone who can really capitalize on the offensive and defensive glass, and then finish, as play finisher in the paint off of Shea and, play alongside Chet or Hardenstein if he's still there. I just really like that fit as a more plug and play option.
yeah. Absolutely. There's a couple different ways I guess they could go here, but Merez is a really strong pick. He's a big time athlete, and they can't get enough defense in Oklahoma City, so he fits right in to what they do. Dalen Swain's another fun one here with just some of the way they play, like another plus defender on the wing that can get downhill and score a little bit off the dribble and hopefully hit the catch and shoot. Could see him here as well, but we'll go Merez there. We got Merez, Yaxel, and Mikel with the last few picks, which brings us to the Heat. So I'm gonna let Philon finally get picked after we all talked about him about 5 different times here.
There we go.
He's welcome to the Heat, Philon. He just seems like a Heat player. I mock him here all the time. I can't let him fall any further. Just a really impressive upside as a scorer, creator, shooter, on the ball, scoring in different ways, like making shots that defenses want you to take and being really good at hitting those shots, and developed a lot on the ball, I think, as a scorer and general shooter, and efficiently and with more volume this year, and showed a lot of defensive instincts last year for me, where there's enough there where it's not like people have said like could be a really bad defender, and I understand after this past year like the usage went way up and some of the defense stats did go down, but I think like there's a happy medium waiting to be had in this prospect at the next level, where like he'll have some of the steal instincts and hustle play instincts. He'll have the two-way feel and good decision maker, constantly making winning plays for his team, and has flashed just so much different scoring versatility and shooting skills, where I think there's some two-way impact potential, and at the very least enough to hold his own, be a net neutral or a plus defender, whatever you want to call it, where he's not hurting his team on that end. And while maybe he's the weak link, but like he's still like he's not a negative. And could be, if you flank him with more defense, like we've touched on some of the other lineup possibilities, could really unlock his game. So classic Heat guy. Any other thoughts of who they might take here or on fine?
No, agreed there on Philon. I think that's more alignment there because you have the defensive infrastructure to kind of protect him, with Bam and Wiggins, Davion as well. Can kind of have two ball handlers in the same lineup, which would be interesting. And then Philon and Bam in the pick and roll. I think, Philon would get a lot of open looks as a pull-up shooter with Bam setting screens and rolling off that short roll. So, yeah, I agree. I like Philon for them.
We'll hit the 17th for the Thunder pick as well, because they have the Thunder at the 12, 17, obviously, and the 37th as well. I mocked Dalen Swain a lot to them. We've touched on him a little bit. And at 17, I mean, you could just totally see them taking like the high impact defenders at both spots. But they've also taken some like two-way interesting dynamic scorers. They also have the 37th pick. So that could be a team where they, somehow Isaiah Evans falls to them and they or something like that. I don't know. Where they just find some value late in the draft. But any other Thunder fits, maybe, whether it's early second or even the 17th pick here?
Yeah, I like Swain for them too. I think we're in alignment on another pick. As far as someone who can self-create for themselves, instead of Shea doing a bunch of the heavy lifting from the perimeter, you could have Swain kind of operate as on the ball and as a pretty good defender too, with his usage scaled down. So I like Swain for them. I think that makes a lot of sense. And coming out of the draft with Merez and Swain would be pretty unfair for the West, I think.
They just keep reloading, man. It's crazy how they keep chugging along like that. Charlotte also has 2 picks here. They're 14th and 18th, and so not quite two lottery, but close enough to come away, especially in this draft, with roughly 2 lottery prospects. Anyone you like here for Charlotte?
I was thinking maybe Graves for them.
All
I
right,
don't know
all
if this is
right.
a little early, but as far as someone who can stretch the floor out, Really good, good passer for his
Perfect
size.
fit.
Yeah, could defend. I think in Lee's system, like, would really make a lot of sense there. And playing alongside Kalkbrenner or Diabate, I think would make up for some of the rim protection there on defense. So I think it's a good fit pick for them as they kind of look to maybe ascend in the East. After a pretty good year this year.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that shout. There's a lot of different ways they could probably go with especially with two picks at 14 and 18. But Graves statistically matches up exactly with what they do. Like the Graves is what his statistical profile strengths are things like his rebound percentage, his 3 points development, his assist to turnover, and offensive rebound percentage. And that's like Charlotte bread and butter is just crash the offensive glass and launch threes and good decision making with the ball with assist to turnover. And he could really fill out that front court, especially if Miles Bridges is on the move. We'll see if there's any moves there. But that seems to be a name that was in some rumors as well. I'm going to also give them Kareem Lopez here. He seems to get a lot of love in this first round. He's not quite that high for me, but he seems to be getting top 20 buzz. And could provide some of the Miles Bridges type of role. Antonio Diaz was on the pod before talking about a little bit about his game, comparing the two, and like that fit a lot. So I'll give him a shout here because he's kind of mocked in this area, and it seems one of these teams around here, maybe the Thunder, maybe Charlotte or Toronto or Spurs. I mean, somebody around here probably going to take Kareem Lopez at some in the first. Any other general Charlotte people you like? Christian Anderson would be interesting. Just another crazy shooter in that backcourt.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to see. I mean, if they got one of these bigs, like if Quaintance maybe was plucked out of there as a flyer on a high impact defender and rim protector, versatile defender that can, like Diabate, can kind of supplement him or back up him a little bit and just provide another body that does those things very well. Um, don't know if I love the guards. I mean, Sturts, I guess, is another fun one pretty much anywhere. But with that would go to. So we already did Chicago with the 15th, and we did 16 for Memphis, and we did Oklahoma City. So that brings us to the 19th pick with the Toronto Raptors. And roughly, who do you think are the Raptors hoping is there on at the 19th pick?
Yeah, I was gonna say Christian Anderson. I think at this pick makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah.
If you look at who they have there, with CMB was a great pick last year. They have Ingram, a couple guys who can create a little bit. On the floor, Scotty as well. I think Anderson, as far as his ability to shoot, off the ball, can operate some of the pick and rolls, pull up guy too. I think you have some of the defensive infrastructure there with CMB and Scotty to maybe insulate, some of the height concerns. So, maybe Sturts too. Honestly, either guy. I think Sturts could fit there as a guy who can operate and pick and roll, and you can play him a little bit off the ball too as a catch and shoot guy with Scotty initiating at times and Ingram initiating at times as well. So I'll probably actually change my pick. I'll go Sturts for them. Okay, you're muted.
Oh, good call there. The switch up. I like both. I like both picks, or I
Mid
like
pick
both
switch.
options. Mid pick switch as it goes. But both are great point guard options at this point, especially. And Christian Anderson's shooting and playmaking would be stellar for all the reasons you said, flanked by all that defense and that versatility, the downhill playmaking and force of their big wings. But Bennett starts to kind of run the pick and roll, run the show a little bit would be very interesting dynamic in Toronto. Um, one Cameron Carr is another name maybe to throw out at some point here. I think that they might just bet on his length and tools and the combination of his two-way impact upside, just athletic defense and scoring and shooting, just clean cut NBA player. The way he plays, every way he impacts the game that way to me. But with the only other name I got to throw out here, do you Nate Ment, not necessarily for Toronto, but do you think he's at the top of the wish list of anyone we've just kind of glossed over? Maybe Memphis at the 16th pick, or the Thunder take a swing at the 17th pick.
Uh, Potentially.
Charlotte 18,
Yeah, I think
because
maybe
he's
Charlotte
mocked
makes a bit more
higher.
sense.
he's
Right.
mocked pretty high. So I feel like we got to shout him out, even if we're a little low on him. But somebody, he's high on one of these wish lists, and he's got great talent and very tall ball handler with some incredible shooting skills for his height. Just wasn't the most efficient in some areas that scouts want to see at the rim and overall, and the has a lot of length, but we'll see if the defensive impact translates too. So just has some question marks, but like he's been a top talent like this whole time. Like if you asked me like a year ago, he would have been top 10 and right there at like in the convo for 5. But this is a really talented draft, and I'm generally looking for two-way versatility and two-way impact and the way you're going to help a team win on both ends with as few holes in your game and kind of betting on that processing and feel and scoring gravity or shooting gravity of it all and everything that you bring to and defensive impact that you bring to the table, that sort of stuff. And he has some very interesting on-ball upside as a creator and as a shooter on and off the ball and as a defender and rebounder, but just a little higher on some other guys. But I can see a team take a swing on him maybe right after the lottery when that like rush of 4 teams all have their second first round pick in a row in that 15 to 18 range. But he could be one to slip as well. But I just think he's kind of too coveted or too big of a name at this point to slip too much farther.
For sure, yeah. I
Um,
think with Ahmed, you've got to have maybe fit him into a role early on as far as a cutter, catch and shoot player. Maybe focus more on the defense as well. So probably pairing him with more of a perimeter creator or a big creator, I think would be beneficial for him early in his career.
yeah, and I mean, we'll see which team uh, ends up taking a swing. I think some team will bet on his talent, like the Bulls or at 15, or Memphis at 16, or Thunder at 17. But I totally agree. Like finding the right role for him would be ideal. Not asking him to do too much too soon, and just letting him thrive on the skills he has, and let him grow into maybe the skills he might need to develop a little bit. But with the Spurs at the 20th pick, they could pair somebody interesting here with Wembanyama in a real talent. If you didn't take Graves, I did like that one there. But there's a lot of guys you could kind of hope for here. I've seen Chris Sanak Jr. as another name that could be interesting with his like spread game next to Wemby. I kind of see both of them as more stretch bigs, so I might lean a little more of a big, like an inside guy if I was going to go big. But I mean, Merez Johnson's interesting if he's still there. Jaden Quaintance, the defense, if these guys are still there at the 20th pick. Cameron Carr might be another bet on just kind of like Carter Bryant the last year, just defensive wing and athlete. D and 3 and score a little bit and see if any of that's there. Maybe I will go with Carr to round out the 20th pick there.
Yeah, I think adding another wing, 3 and D, Carr can, maybe handle a little bit. At certain times, attacking as a closeout guy as well, operating off of Harper and Castle's ability to touch the paint. Yeah, I think that'd be a good fit.
Do you think Giannis trade is on their wish list? Do you think after the finals was that a Draymond calling KD from the parking lot moment? We gotta get Giannis in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think of course if the right deal presented itself, then they would do it. But I don't know. I don't think they'd be willing to part with Harper, or maybe even Castle at the moment. But yeah,
It'd be tough.
maybe Castle if it happened. But I think Harper is the guy you want to keep after his rookie output.
Yeah, totally agree. Like after that run, like Harper became basically untouchable. But if you can get Giannis any other way, then I'd probably be in at that point. And Castle kind of is the swing one, but like you got to give up something to get a guy like Giannis, and he is kind of the one I would probably. Well, if you could do Fox instead, I guess you would. But if you have to choose between Harper and Castle, you probably got to send Castle. I think at this point. Harper was just insane, just getting to the rim, and as a creator, just another level as a talent. It feels like, but who? Any other names you think the Spurs like would really want right here? I mean, they could beef up their defense with one of the defenders maybe in this range.
Yeah, maybe Quaden's just adding a guy who can play double big with Wemby. Can do more of the big man stuff now. I think the Quaden's really improved on the big man stuff this year as far as rebounding, rim protection. you could operate Wemby more as a help side guy. So yeah, I think Carr Quayton makes a lot of sense for them. Getting a 3-and-D wing or maybe playing another big to go double big with Wemby.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and they can kind of afford to take a swing on the talent at that point too, and like maybe luck out and hit big. Maybe they go like utility big. Maybe this is Hans Steinbach range here at the 20th pick and just plug and play a nice solid big in the front court that gets the job done next to Wemby and eats up some minutes. The Pistons here at 20. The Spurs, before we skip past, they have 3 second-round picks. Any second rounders? We haven't given a shout to Jacoby Gillespie. I don't know if they have any room for any more guards in in San Antonio, but maybe a guy like him. Castro, I'll give a shout. Rafael Castro, because his he had the best like stocks per foul in the class and pretty high wingspan for a big man. So maybe they go for a defender late as well. Any second round targets for the Spurs?
Yeah, maybe Malik Brown's a flyer, kind of big option there
Yeah.
as a defender. Could see that.
All right. I like it, especially depending how they go a little bit earlier there. But with Detroit, what else they got? They got the 21st pick. Okay, Detroit has the 21st pick. Who do you like for Detroit here?
I like Sturridge for Detroit.
Oh yeah,
I had a
the
podcast
pick and
with
roll.
for sure. I had a podcast with Ben Pfeiffer the other day. We went over kind of a fit for Sturridge there. I think the Pistons make a lot of sense. As far as you can operate him with Cade, he can operate really as a catch and shoot player instead of having all the usage and initiating all the actions offensively. You can have him operate off the ball, but he can run offense and Spurs as well. I think that's what makes Sturridge malleable in that aspect. So I think they need another guard that can kind of assume some usage, but also operate as a off-ball player with Cade. As a guy who could scale down at certain points. So I think Sturridge is like really, really like good fit for them there.
Yeah, no, I mean you hit it on the head. Like they're a pick and roll offense with Cade, and like Sturts is a master of that. And like you said, you can scale him to play off the ball as a shooter off that offense from Cade, or he can attack the closeout and shoot it, and he can also run the whole offense himself without Cade, and just perfect, very clean fit. The Raptors, Detroit, and Pistons seem to need a point guard of some sort, want to bet on a point guard talent, it seems. Okori, if he's still there, seems to get mocked there as well in those two slots, but I think by now he's earned enough buzz. Like I think he will go higher. I'm really interested to see where he ends up going, because like throughout this process, like he probably wasn't even mocked in the second round for a while, and then like started getting mocked late first, and I think he's top 10 in a lot of people's boards now. And he wasn't considered a lottery pick like 4 months ago. So good for him and moving up. And I think the combine helped, that those numbers being official helped. But just great, incredible talent to his game. With the Sixers at the 22nd pick, they could go a few different options here, I suppose. That's their only pick. They'd probably take like the best power forward available, I would think, even though that's a little too simple, maybe but like I think like Chris Sinak is, if he's there, you get like a stretch four type that we've hit on him already, but like he can kind of plug and play at the four with Embiid and maybe cover some of Embiid without him at the five in some lineups here and there. Merez Johnson's energy would be really interesting. They could kind of use that in the front court, some of that defense and that mobility and that energy. I don't know if we've officially drafted Zuby yet, but that's another fun name there at the four that you could kind of throw in there as a dynamic guy. I've honestly lost track of who the official picks are at this point, but one of those four would be great here.
Yeah, I like Zuby for them as well. Seems like they're a bit
Yeah.
undersized next to Embiid. I know
Yeah.
Paul George was playing a decent amount of forward last year, so I think Zuby there is a physical option. Someone who I think pairing him with Tyrese as well defensively would be makes a lot of sense on that end of the floor too. So that would be a pretty physical combination with Zuby and Embiid in the front court. So I would go Zuby for this pick, I think.
All right, let's do it, because I think some of the other guys have all been taken like between Merez, Quayton, Sinak. We've kind of mentioned them enough. They probably but who the heck knows? But they're probably at the top of the wish list. And it is a wish list. So like some teams have wish for the same players. I think
Right.
the Pistons are probably like they probably have a favorite point guard and hope the Raptors don't take the one they want more. And it could kind of be any combination of guys. But they probably know that they're there too. Maybe they convince, Charlotte to give up their extra 18th pick to move back a few spots so they can go snipe their point guard in front of Toronto, some draft value there. If that's the difference is worth them getting Sturts instead of a different guy. Because that would be a really fun fit off of. It's probably a little too early for like a Isaiah Evans, maybe Nate Ament, just because they need some shooting off of Cade and can kind of, you mentioned maybe a creator, a guard creator type or big guard in Cade. Could kind of bring Ament along slowly without demanding too much on the ball, even though the tough thing is just being in a situation expected to win right away and contend right away. So the demand is really high to play. But with the Knicks at the 24th pick, they actually have three picks as well. 155, the 55 overall pick, the 31st overall pick, so the first pick in the second round, and then the 24th pick here. So any prospects here for the Knicks? I got one in mind that I love mocking there, but who do you like in the guard?
I'm curious for your pick because I don't know. I was kind of struggling with this one. Maybe
All right.
adding another shooter and Evans. I mean, could be his range.
Yeah, so
Maybe Koa Pete
there
makes
you
some
go.
sense as a backup four.
Okay. Yeah, I mean there's some energy there. See, Merez Johnson was the fun pick here, but he's just not gonna make it anymore.
Right.
Like it's over. So Malik Thomas is one fun name I really like at this spot.
Okay.
Malik is like, born for the spotlight. He plays like Jamal Crawford, who obviously, walking bucket in New York. He just has that swagger to me where like combined with the game that he brings. Like he's a tough shot maker, a shooter, shows some defensive instincts. Like I think he didn't get to show everything he could do at Arkansas, and he's one of the toughest, like smoothest walking buckets you'll see. Combine that with like his shooting and defensive instincts. I think there's a little bit of like three and D and onside, 3-and-D impact with on ball upside a little bit as a 6-man spark plug scorer. And if there's enough two-way impact there, I mean, maybe there's even a starter potential down the road. And on top of all that, you already have like this really dynamic defensive front court with Cat and Brunson. Maybe Malik just gives a little bit of an offensive kind of release valve for the all the defenders with Josh Hart and Jose Alvarado, all these defensive energy guys in the backcourt. Just a little bit of sprinkle in some offense there, but maybe be able to complement some of the other stuff he does. And he's like a read and react assist hunter. Like I would think of him as a combo guard, like a bucket getter. But like if he gets doubled at some point, he'll hit the open man and he can run some point, run some offense. So like in the Knicks spread motion offense with all that like spread, all that room to operate and wide open teammates, like could be a great fit.
Agreed. I like that pick actually. I didn't think of Malik for New York, but it makes a lot of sense. Adding another guard there, especially they might lose Shamit and maybe Alvarado as well. So could
Yeah.
add kind of a plug and play bench option there.
Yeah, if you lose Shamit, that's tough. Bruce Thornton, another fun name, might be a little early. They also have the 31st pick, so maybe he's there around 31. So kind of another walking bucket, tough shot maker with impressive touch there and versatile scorer. Um, could be a fun one for the Knicks. Uh, are we? Let's see here. Missing any Nick guys? Did you like anyone else for them in general? I don't know if there's any. Like I feel like most of they could like Koa Pete is a good shout because like he might be the best four available. I think we hit on all these other fours that will probably be gone by then.
Mm-hmm.
So Trevon Brazil is too early here. Maybe at the 31st pick. I haven't shouted him out yet, but I like him as a Magic target in like at the 45th pick or whatever it is, the 46th pick. If he somehow throws there, but Brazil just seems like a NBA athlete clearly to me, like high flying, play finisher, versatile defender, can rebound and do like little role player things, winning player things well to help your team win as a role player. Like just does the dirty work. And a high flyer athlete, like especially in the second round, like possible NBA player. I'll take a swing on that at some that type of guy at some point. But doesn't exactly fit the Knicks style, but just might be one of the better fours available at that point. Baba Miller too, I guess, but I'm going with Malik at least with the first one, and then maybe Bruce Thornton with the 31st if he's there. I think he might be the guy that kind of slips to the second round that might return the first round value.
Yeah, I think any like the guards you mentioned would make a lot of sense for New York.
Yeah. All right. Let's shoot to the Lakers here. They got the 25th pick. We can finally talk about who to play with Luka. I'm pretty sure I mentioned acquaintance earlier as a possibility that would be cool if he was still there. Because talk about rounding out his game and unlocking him in different ways next to Luka. But assuming he's off the board, who do you like here for LA?
Probably, I think someone who could provide some roll gravity. Uh, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe Visar would make some sense. I don't know if we picked him earlier. Visar, I think Koa Pete as well. Adding another 4-man into the mix. There was some rumors about them getting maybe Walker Kessler in a trade, so maybe then you could slot in Pete at the 4, as well. In that lineup, spacing would be pretty tough, but could really capitalize on the glass there. So, yeah, I could probably see a big. I think Visar, Pete, one of those two. I think.
Yeah. Definitely best big available seems like pretty much their best bet. I don't think so. I mean, if it's Sinak, if it's Quaintance, that could be one of them. Visar, I mean, if he's still there, like you said, I guess we kind of took him with the Hawks second pick, but yeah, if he's still there, you got to pick and pop threat that does a lot of the little things well. That Luka would like to have. Maybe they go guard, but I know clearly he wants that rim roller, but maybe they solve it through a trade. I mean, they could get that a different way. Malik is another option there as well. I think in this range. But I do think rim rolling big that anchors the defense and protects Luka on one end and complements him on the other. Got to be the top of the wish list for the Lakers here at this point, especially in the draft. So Denver with the 26th pick also has the 49th pick. Would be this an interesting Koa Pete one as well, I think, if he's still there at this range. Like just trying different athletes next to Jokic is never a bad idea, and Koa Pete has that athleticism, the force near the rim, and to him some rebounding and toughness that maybe Jokic's gravity and playmaking unlocks him a little bit, and all the things he can do. So I'll throw his name out here. Anyone you like for Denver?
Yeah, I think probably a big makes sense at this point. I was gonna say Quaidance. I like Swain there a lot for them, but he would go much earlier. Maybe Joshua Jefferson makes some sense as a guy who can play make a bit, pretty versatile offensively, can shoot. So I think if who was available, I would go probably if Zuby's there within the mix of who's currently available, I'd probably go Zuby over those other guys.
Yeah, for sure. I'm at Zuby, Sinak, Quaintance, Morez, Nate Ament, Joshua Jefferson in terms of my ranking of my fours, I guess there or so. But yeah, I like them rounding out the front court a little bit there as well. And Jefferson's a good shot. Kind of some two-way versatility, scorer, defender, a little bit of everything next to Jokic, can plug and play maybe. I do like that fit. And similar in Boston with the next pick here, who, the top of their wish list could very much just be Giannis in a big trade with all the picks going out and Giannis coming in. I think that probably is the top of their wish list over who they take 27th in the draft. But there's some very interesting talent here. Boston could go a lot of different ways, I guess. Terrace Reed, if you want to start looking at the next level of centers, if he's the best big available, Terrace Reed might be a nice option here. Kind of a defensive anchor and do little dirty work down low, protect the rim and play finish at the rim on the other side. Joshua Jefferson, another kind of two-way versatile guy. You could see them going for to round out the front court again. Maybe Isaiah Evans, I'll give him a shout here as well. I think he'll be considered around this range, but I think it might be the next couple of picks where he goes. But yeah, I mean, maybe they take a swing on one of these scores, like Bruce Thornton or Malik Thomas in this range as well. You like anyone else? And they also have the 40th pick. Maybe I don't know if we mentioned Jacoby Gillespie. I think we might have threw his name out there once, but do it all score a little bit. Maybe take a swing on him too.
Yeah, I like Tarish in this pick too. Tarish Reed.
Yeah,
Someone who could protect the rim a bit more rugged in the front court as well. Has a bit of a post game too. Uh, depending on what they do with their bigs. I know they've Keita, played a lot there. So, I could see, like you said, Thornton, another good guard they could add to the mix, but also getting Tyrus too, maybe another big they could add, play alongside Tatum as a play finisher. I would like that fit there too.
So with Minnesota, then who are you thinking next to Anthony Edwards? The big question is they kind of need a point guard, but is that
Yeah,
what they do in the draft, or is that maybe a different way? But this is a good range for some point guard swings. Do you have a favorite for them?
yeah, this is tough with point guards now because it seems like most of them kind of went off the board at this point.
Yeah,
But
there's like a gap with after Sturts, basically, it seems, in that range. But I guess right before the second round or the early second round is, I don't know, I'm high on like 4 or 5 point guards at that point.
I could see them going Delaria, I think. Conley
Yeah.
likes to draft international, and kind of investing in more, I'd say, interesting skill sets.
Yeah.
Delaria at his height,
The team
maybe
that
they're the handle
drafted
the ball.
Rubio.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. I think Delaria would fit, as far as add him around some defensive infrastructure as well with that. Rudy. I could see that working. I could see that being more of an upside play as well. I did read that he might be a stash too, so I'm not sure if
Mm.
that's the case, but could
Mm.
be an interesting option for a team looking to keep their books in order.
Yeah, I mean, really tall point guard, athlete, can get downhill and can play make and hit the open three, and could definitely see him slide right in on and off next to Anthony Edwards in the backcourt. So I like that pick a lot. I could, Lipsy or Gillespie here, could be some other swings, maybe a little early. Isaiah Evans is maybe a shooter I would go with at this point just to get another shooter off ball. And I don't think I mentioned Braden Smith yet, so we gotta give a shout to Braden Smith.
Yeah, I
Really
thought of
love
him
his
too.
playmaking. That would kind of be the other point guard I would think if you just want to bet on playmaking and incredible passing and steal percentage and the developing 3-point shot. He keeps the ball moving and does the Nash dribbles and just like always keeping his heads up for good plays. So that would be fun. But I do think I agree that De La Rey is where it, especially if, I mean, if he sits, I mean, I guess it's a little different, but if he's out for a year, but otherwise, I do think they would lean towards him at that point. So with the Cavs, I think this is where Isaiah Evans would ultimately go is right off ball of Harden and Mitchell, is add another shooter that can defend and slash and attack closeouts. Just did it at Duke, can walk right into Cleveland and ideally do the same thing at the three and add a little two-way impact win now type of player to Cleveland right there. That's normally where I mock him, if not Minnesota or Dallas in this range.
Yeah, yeah, I like Evans there. I like Baba Miller there too. I know they were
Oh,
kind of deficient as far as wing defenders. They were kind of a bit taller, and I think Miller can bring that immediately to the table. Has a bit of an intrigue as far as a handle for a guy that size too. So yeah, Evans
yeah.
or Miller, I think makes some sense there.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good shout. Baba is a rare skill set for his size, but a
Hmm.
cool athlete and defender, and fun ball handler, playmaker, and they could always use a little extra hand there. And honestly, he probably does bring a little bit more as kind of a playmaker to create, maybe keep the ball moving versus maybe if they want the three ball a little more. Evans maybe brings a little bit more of that in that equation, but definitely worthwhile kind of debate. I have them in the same tier in that range. The Mavs we kind of hit on earlier, but who do you think they would want most here at the 30th pick?
Yeah, I could
Assuming they
see.
took one of the guards earlier.
Yeah, I could see. I think maybe Onyenso would be a spot here if they were to trade one of their bigs.
Yeah,
I think also Richie Saunders. It might be a little bit of an overdraft considering the injury he had, but adding another shooter like that, with some positional size, I think that could potentially be an option there too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're looking for some talent at this point, and if you're betting on that 3-point shot, that's a real talent to, like you said, one elite steal at the very least. To bet on. I haven't mentioned Otega Owe's name yet. I don't know if I like him here as much, but I do like him in this range. Maybe I'd push him off to the like the 32nd pick for Memphis. He feels a little more like a Memphis type of guard. Otega Owe, just a really tough guard that has little scoring chops and three-point chops to him, but really impactful, strong defender to me. That should make it to the next level, I think. But Dallas, yeah, I mean, if they go guard early, they probably will try to hope for a big. I mean, maybe they get lucky and Visar is still there at the 30th, or but if not him, then yeah, probably maybe a swing on one of the other ones, one of the other bigs later in the draft. And even if they win really any of the guards, I think that's probably the case. So that's the first round. I don't know if there's any teams we didn't quite get to. Maybe Houston at the 39th pick. You got any Houston option?
I was thinking Dylan
All
Mitchell maybe at this pick. It might be a little bit of
right.
an overdraft, but someone who's obviously the jump shot's a big work in progress, but someone who could actually have some handle equity, can really defend to the point of attack too, and good at getting out in transition. So I think he would fit well with with Amen trying to get up and down the floor. So I think that could be a good flyer there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fun shout right there. Jacoby Gillespie, maybe another guard they could swing on. Um, Jack Cahill, if he's still there, could give some more defense to the backcourt. But any other, I think that is about all the interesting prospects that I had to name. Was there any team fits or any prospect fits you think, are on a wish list that we didn't quite get to? Like any fits that you think, maybe a prospect would love to end up in, or a team would love to see them drop?
Yeah, I think Spurs definitely maybe another big or could play next to Wemby. That's probably I think we kind of covered that a little bit, but that would be on the wish list there. And the Nuggets definitely need either a rim protector next to Jokic. I think that whether it's Quaintance or a Zuby, someone like that, or but then also vice versa. If you add someone who can create for themselves and get to the paint, like an Corey or a Swain, as a secondary guy, but he can do it. As far as the usage there. I think those are probably the two biggest that I see immediately. So yeah, I think other than that, I think we covered all of them. But how about your Magic? Who do you think who are your preferred options in the draft? I know they don't have a first rounder, but
Yeah,
what
no,
if they were
good
to trade
shot.
in or maybe second rounder?
Yeah, yeah. They do have the 46th pick. The Trevon Brazil is probably sitting on top of my list for them as like a play finisher, versatile defender, but he might not even make it that late. I'm like 10 spots higher on him than there. Jack Cahill is another guy that fits right in with kind of what they do. Tameen Lipsey, if they want another guard that just kind of defends and can shoot a little bit and score a little bit, and natural point guard and scale like Lipsy just fits right in. Zuby Ejiofor, another. I don't know where they would have to target him to land him at this point. Obviously not that late anymore at 46, but another versatile defender that can score and slide right into that front court. They probably want to swing on a big, but I don't know at 46 if you're gonna get the right kind of like if you're gonna get a good enough big to necessarily swing on. But I do think if they had their choice, they would take a swing on a center on one of these centers, maybe a Terrace Reed if he's there, or on Yenso if he's there. But kind of like just a swing on a center because it's Wendell and Goga, and I do think Goga might be available, and I don't know if they love that fit at the moment with everything going on. So I think that would probably be the position, but they can't get enough guards for my book. So if Lipsy's there or something. Oh, I almost forgot Otega Owe, the most magic guard of them all. Big tough defender guard with a little streaky 3-point shot. Like welcome to Orlando. That's the pick. You and if they move up, we mentioned Zuby. Um, let's see. I mean, Braden Smith would be kind of interesting just to get a natural point guard here to run the show a little bit and put everybody in their place a little bit more. Bruce Thornton would be a fun swing. Anyone you like for Orlando? I mean, Chris Sinak could be kind of interesting off the bench there as like a, versatile two-way big to kind of play some five like we were talking, but also bring some, stretch four games in.
Yeah, I think they probably more so of a guard. I think they need more creation on the perimeter.
Oh, Christian
Uh,
Anderson.
Christian
That's
Anderson as well.
probably
Yeah,
that
catch and
might be
shoot player.
that might be like the dream NBA NBA Christmas NBA draft wish list, the dream option. Christian Anderson.
Yeah, I could see Sturts as
He's
well.
yeah,
Thornton
Sir.
maybe.
He'd be killer. And with Anderson, you get the German background with De Silva and the Wagners all on Team Germany together. Even though Christian's from Atlanta, he did play with Team Germany. But so I think they have a little bit of a connection there, and the Magic could definitely use that 3-point shooting and playmaking point blank. I mean, Certs too with the pick and roll, but I'm like almost too high on Anderson's mix of like on and off ball shooting and playmaking. Like something about that skill and touch is just like a lottery ticket to me. Like he won it. He made the top 15 off that. But man, unless I'm forgetting a team here, I'm pretty sure we hit just about everybody. Man, thanks for taking the time. That was a lot of fun. I mean, um, there's a ton of prospects. I don't think I think we hit on just about everyone in my top 40 at the very least, and then another like 5 or 10 for good measure. So NBA draft wish list. Do you have any wishes as an NBA fan? One final wish. You wish for mayhem or crazy trades? What's on your NBA fan wish list?
Yeah, let's get all the madness going. Let's get the Giannis trade tomorrow. Let's
There we go.
some uncertainty maybe with some outlier picks. Draft night's always a fun night, so looking forward to see how it unfolds. But hopefully, the one pick Denver. Hopefully they get down swaying tomorrow. So that's my one wish right there.
There it is. That's a big wish. That would be a fun wish for. I mean, talk about a dynamic talent if he somehow was there for Denver. I mean, if we're just making wishes, I'll take Zuby. I'll take Christian Anderson. Just either one of these guys in Orlando would be a lot of fun. Let's get Okori and Philon like at least lottery tomorrow
Yeah,
night. At least like that's what I want to see. Even higher from obviously, but like at least let's see some lotto picks. And yes, let's get this Giannis trade out of the way so it doesn't take over the whole night. I
definitely
like
for
it.
sure. Yep,
I dig it, man. All right, man. Thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun. The NBA teams, I think everybody got their wish. So congrats to every team here on another fun NBA draft, man. Can't wait to see it play out. Thanks for taking the time.
definitely. Thanks, RK, for having me on. Always appreciate it. And yeah, looking forward to the draft tomorrow. And should be a great night. It's always a great night to see what happens. Always the uncertainty or always interesting to see. So once again, thanks for having me on the show. Always a great time.
It's like Christmas morning, box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. All of that. The draft day is here, man. Thanks, man. Can't wait.
Yep.
Have a good one,
Definitely.
CT.
All right, RK. Yep. Talk tomorrow.
with Ryan.